The Denver Broncos have quietly pulled off the unthinkable. They have dug themselves out of the Russell Wilson mess, and they have taken a very, very bad situation and had a great offseason. And I'm going to show you exactly what folks in the national media were saying about us coming into this offseason and why I think we've had such an amazing offseason. If you're new to this channel, my name is Ben. I'm a diehard Denver Broncos fan, and it truly helps me out a ton if you like this kind of content, if you would like and subscribe. So responding to a couple of comments in the thread just from recently, I love reading all of your comments. I read all of them and respond to as many of them as I can. And Jay and Santiago both kind of called me out yesterday in a very nice way. Like they weren't being mean whatsoever. And I like all opinions from actual Broncos fans. And basically they were saying, hey, you need to take your Broncos hat off, take the orange and blue goggles off, stop drinking the orange and blue Kool-Aid. How can you say we had an amazing offseason if all we've done is like mediocre improvements? So I want to respond to those directly, but I think the only way that you can respond to those is thinking about where we were once we cut Russell Wilson. Every single person in the national media and even most local people were saying that we had set ourselves so far back that we would never crawl out of the hole that we are in until like my son is in middle school. We're talking 4 or 5 years. I heard people on 104.3 The Fan say like it's going to take us 3 years of rebuilding until we're even like thinking about the playoffs. Even Troy Rank saying, hey, we're mercifully rebuilding. We made history together, bad history. We've disappointed everyone. We heard the term cap hell thrown around a ton. And we were just told that like there was no sunshine in the Sunshine State, right? And that nothing was good. Yet then today you see this article on Predominantly Orange that talks about our cap space next year and how it will make your jaw drop. That despite everyone saying it was going to take us years and years and years to crawl out of this Russell Wilson mess, guess what? We're already out of it. We still have cap space left this year, and every single person that we moved on from, we brought in another person who is at least in the conversation, and oftentimes I think is younger and better than the person that we moved on from in this rebuild that they were calling it. And so, here it is that, we had looked at that $85 million in cap space, and we're like, we'll never get out of this. And then here it is, to the surprise of some, we did manage it way better than anyone thought, and that they couldn't have been more wrong saying that we were going to get out of here. So let's look at who we moved on from and why we are paying them a fraction of what they were paid. The person we moved on from was paid and equal production and sometimes even better. So the first one, Justin Simmons, don't want to dog him, love him, one of my favorite Broncos of all time. Yet if you look at his Pro Football Focus grade, 67, he still is a free agent right now. He hasn't been picked up from anyone, by anyone, and we went on and we got a player who was much higher ranked than him in Pro Football Focus. His last 7 games of the season with the Miami Dolphins, playing against really good quarterbacks, played Josh Allen twice in that stretch. Look at, he is a higher rated safety. I think you have at least equal production, maybe even better in the fact that you went from an older savvy vet to a 27-year-old former Texas quarterback. That's not even to mention the fact that by moving on from Justin Simmons, we also were able to lock in PJ Locke, who has been an incredible tight end. So the next person on here, Jerry Jeudy. We move on from Jerry Jeudy, and we have also heard Sean Payton say that one of the reasons Marvin Mims didn't get the balls that we thought he should get this year is that Jerry Jeudy and him played the same position. And so now just moving on from Jerry Jeudy and getting the first pick of the Browns in the 5th round and their 6th round draft pick as well for Jerry Jeudy, we then replace him with a guy who has more touchdowns and is a better locker room fit for the Denver Broncos in Josh Reynolds. Had more touchdowns last year, and again, a higher Pro Football Focus rank. And in doing so, we upgrade the locker room and don't have all the drama that we had with Jerry Jeudy, and has more touchdown production than Jerry Jeudy had. So I think, again, we're getting the ball to Marvin Mims a lot more because Jerry Jeudy is out of the picture, and we replace him with an equally talented person. We look at Just even the addition of Malcolm Roach, one of the top-ranked run-stuffing defensive tackles in the league. We know that the run was the biggest weakness of this Denver Broncos defense last year. And we bring in a guy, everyone was talking about Christian Wilkins and how he was the best defensive tackle in football. And the Raiders give him one of the richest contracts of all time. And we bring in Malcolm Roach and pay him literally a fraction of what Christian Wilkins is getting, and he is not that far of a drop-off. Obviously, I would rather have Christian Wilkins, but he is jumping into this defensive line, and I think that's going to be a great fit for the Denver Broncos. Again, we're paying him pennies on the dollar to help us stop the run. We then look, a lot of people are talking about where we maybe did get worse was at the middle linebacker position. We know that Singleton and Josie Jewell, the Bash brothers, were an amazing tandem for us. And so on the surface, bringing in Cody Barton, and I said his name right. Usually I call him Cody Rorick because of Locked On Broncos. But his name is Cody Barton, Coco as I call him. He had more tackles last year than Josie Jewell. He had more assists than Josie Jewell, more interceptions. He didn't force as many fumbles. His linebacker grade from Pro Football Focus is quite a bit lower than Josie Jewell, so you could say that is a step back. But that's not the Broncos' hope at who actually will be our starting middle linebacker. Instead, it's going to be Jonas Griffith, and if we look at him, he was homeschooled, didn't play football till his senior year of high school. And he is we're just now starting to see what he can do. He had some really fluky injuries, but when you go back to when he wasn't injured, he had a higher Pro Football Focus grade than Josie Jewell did. So all of this to just show that the Denver Broncos rebuilt without tearing this thing down to the studs. I just do not understand how the Denver Broncos can be predicted next year to only have 5 wins, because show me on this roster where we got noticeably worse. And I just showed you how we got at least it was only a lateral move over, if not an improvement in a lot of these positions, because these guys are younger and healthier perhaps. And so I'm very curious, looking at those over-unders that they make at the sports books. They have insider information, but a lot of the times those are shots in the dark. Last year, the Houston Texans were only predicted to win 5.5 games, the exact prediction we have for this year. And if you just look at how we finished our year last year, we started off with that horrible loss to the Raiders that was really fluky with missed field goals. We lost to the Commanders, even though that was the best football I'd seen Russell Wilson play, and we just collapsed in that second half. We had the shellacking against the Dolphins, but then we come back, and even though we're down 28-7, Sean Payton shows that he has changed the culture around here, and we didn't give up, and we came back on the road and beat the Bears. You look at that Jets game, and we lost the Jets game because of what Sean Payton said. He riled up the entire Jets squad. They were playing for Nathaniel Hackett, and all of that, Sean Payton talking about how Nathaniel Hackett was the worst coach in NFL history. A lot of people have looked down on Sean Payton for those comments, but I think truly those comments were meant to bolster Russell Wilson and make Russell Wilson feel like he had a clean slate. And so while Sean Payton took all of the fire, I think he did that to give the guys an excuse and just be like, hey, last year wasn't your fault. You are not a horrible football team. We're starting over, and I think we'll make the playoffs this year. And so, yeah, we lost that fluky game to the Jets. And then you look, we held the Chiefs to 19 points on a scheduled loss. This was a Thursday night game with just a couple days rest after losing a heartbreaker to the Jets. We go into Kansas City, and Mahomes only scores 1 touchdown on us that game. And then the Packers, who make the playoffs and looked fantastic, we beat the Chiefs at home for the first time in my son's, who's 8 years old, his entire life. We go on the road and beat the Bills in a game no one said we could. We beat the Vikings when they had the hottest quarterback in the NFL with the Pastronaut, and we beat the Browns with that incredible defense, and we scored 29 points on them. And then we go into the Texans, and this is where things start to come off the track for us, that we had the ball on the goal line with 4 chances to beat the Texans. We shellac the Chargers. And then we obviously start our downhill slide there. But you just look at once the Sean Payton offense is installed, which is really midway through this season, we were a completely different team at the end of the year, really midway through. And I do not think we've taken a step back on any of those positions. And you could truly make a legitimate argument that we've actually gotten better this offseason. And let's see what happens when Sean Payton has a quarterback who can run his offense from the jump, whether that is Jarrett Stidham or whether that's Bo Nix or Michael Penix or J.J. McCarthy. All of that remains to be seen. But I'm high on these Broncos, not because I'm drinking Kool-Aid, but I just showed you every single position that we saved money at and replaced it with an equally, it's kind of like cutting your cord when you cut your cable bill and you're like, well, hey, I could save money by doing this and still get all the channels. Like, that's what the Broncos did, and I'm super impressed with it. I could be wrong. I definitely have been wrong in the past, and if I am wrong on this, I will definitely fall on my sword. But Broncos country, I think it is going to be a great year because the sky is the limit. Let's giddy up. And now that I'm standing up, this shot's a lot easier. Gosh, maybe not.